Hello there friends, and welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Today Star Wars Visions releases, and I gotta say I'm pretty excited about the combination of Eastern animation with one of the best Western franchises in existence. The fusion of the best parts of human culture are what strengthen us from external threats like the Na'vi and of course dolphins. So instead of talking about the individual episodes of Star Wars Visions today, I kind of want to look at this series as a whole and what they represent. There won't be any spoilers in this video about Star Wars Visions because as I'm recording this now, I've not seen any of the episodes. All I have are some titles and descriptions of which each one of these episodes are going to be. The fact that Disney has announced that all of these stories will be standalone and be featured in this new and interesting format, along with the name Visions, makes me believe that these stories will be presented more as legends or mystical tales rather than concrete parts of Star Wars lore. Now I want to take this a step further by theorizing that these so-called visions, that again is the key word, are actually Star Wars prophecies. Now, the most famous Star Wars prophecy, of course, is the Chosen One prophecy, which is essentially what the first two trilogies are about. And I guess the sequel trilogy as well, just by association. The Chosen One prophecy stated that a chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored. Born of no father, of course, means Anakin Skywalker, whose mom was knocked up by the Holy Spirit, aka sketchy as Palpatine manipulating her womb using the Force, or perhaps by the Force itself. Anakin, of course, would bring balance by ultimately sacrificing his life to destroy Darth Sidious, which is why the sequel trilogy kind of complicates the Chosen One prophecy. Because after Rian Johnson killed Snoke in the middle of the trilogy, J.J. Abrams was forced to bring back Darth Sidious because they didn't have any other baddies ready to go. Which means then that Anakin Skywalker didn't actually restore balance to the Force, which is why prophecies in general are very tricky. Which is why prophecies like these were always feared by Force users, especially the Jedi, who were an organization so fearful of fear that they forgot that there is nothing to fear but fear itself.
Careful you must be when sensing the future, Anakin. The fear of loss is a path to the dark side.
But yeah, they were scared of prophecies because they predicted the future and made people obsessed about their future. And when one becomes obsessed with the future, they forget to be present in the now. Now, the Chosen One prophecy claimed to bring balance to the Force, but that also led to the complete destruction of not only the Sith, but also the Jedi, which is obviously what the Jedi did not want to happen. And so these prophecies are tricky and they can stab you in the back, just like a deal with the devil. In Legends during the Old Republic era in 3964 BBY, a group of Jedi Masters stationed on Taurus's Jedi Tower had a vision that made them believe that one of their Padawans would lead to their death and the complete destruction of the Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic. They let this fear overwhelm them, and this led to an event known as the Padawan Massacres. The Jedi Masters tricked their Padawans into thinking that there would be a banquet in honor of their knighting ceremony, but instead, they got slaughtered, Red Wedding style. One of the Padawans, Zane Carrick, did manage to escape, and this event ultimately led to the withdrawal of the Jedi from Taurus, which preempted a Mandalorian invasion on the planet, which in turn led to the Mandalorian Wars, which led to the rise of Revan, who would turn to the dark side and create much destruction and devastation for the Jedi and the Republic. Is the prophecy fulfilled? I have no idea, and that is the point. Prophecies are extremely vague and open to interpretation. Oftentimes, people who interpret it get things really, really wrong, and because a lot of these prophecies involve scary things like death and destruction, it can lead to really extreme reactions, which can be really bad for everyone. Sometimes you end up fulfilling the very prophecy that you were trying to prevent. Now, the visions in the Star Wars anime series could potentially be about a specific set of prophecies that could be found within the Jedi Temple. During the Golden Age of the Republic, before the Clone Wars starts, the Jedi Order kept a collection of prophecies in their archives, locked away in a special area, sort of like the restricted section in the Hogwarts library. These prophecies were recorded Force visions from Jedi throughout the Order's history. Most of these visions were stored in a holocron, and these were highly restricted from the younger Jedi. One Jedi who was especially curious about these prophecies was Count Dooku. Dooku was close friends with another Jedi named Sifo Dyas, and Sifo Dyas was very sensitive and connected to the Force, and he oftentimes had Force visions and nightmares. When the richest Padawan, Sifo Dyas had a vision of a deadly solar storm setting a peaceful agrarian planet on fire. Servadios and Count Dooku eventually figured out exactly where this event would happen, but the higher-ups in the Jedi Order and the Republic refused to heed their warning, and of course this disaster happens and a lot of people die. This would be the start of Count Dooku's mistrust of both the Jedi and the Republic. It would also be the beginning of his interest in Jedi Prophecies. Dooku would take on an apprentice known as Raul Averos, and he would also share his love for prophecies with him. But eventually Dooku would become obsessed with the prophecies and then suddenly cut himself off completely from them. I theorize that Dooku most likely foresaw the rise of the Sith and the Clone Wars, which is one of the main reasons why he would leave the Jedi Order. Unfortunately, I think Count Dooku was not mentally prepared for these prophecies, and they led him towards fear and despair, which led him to the dark side. Now, Qui Gon Jinn would become Dooku's apprentice eventually. And while Count Dooku would refuse to share the prophecies with Dooku, Raul Averos was not above doing that, and it was through Dooku's former apprentice that his current apprentice would start learning about these prophecies. Qui Gon Jinn would not just learn about these prophecies, he would become infatuated by them. He, of course, was the one who identified Anakin Skywalker as the chosen one and bring him before the Jedi Order. Instead of fearing the prophecies like Dooku and the other Jedi before him, Qui Gon Jinn approached it with a sense of calm and acceptance. Now, Qui Gon Jinn has always been seen as an eccentric individual, but I simply believe that he had a very mature acceptance of the Force and had figured out a way to temper his own ego and expectations of the world around him. And because he kind of had this ego death moment, he was able to just accept whatever the prophecies brought before him. He didn't try to fight it or alter the future. He just went along with things, which I think is probably the best way to deal with Force prophecies. Now, after scanning through all of the Star Wars visions, titles, and descriptions, I can't help but think that these might be the visions that we were looking for in the first place. This will allow these individual stories to have some type of continuity and purpose to unite them. This could be a really cool way to incorporate new different art styles and even new alternative realities and rules, because these are technically visions and not concrete events that actually happen, right? This also would create a story within a story type of mechanism, which is something George Lucas loved putting into Star Wars. He hinted at one point that R2-D2 was the individual from which all stories in Star Wars galaxy was being told from. R2-D2 is basically the observer of this magical galaxy, and through him, we learn about everything. This also gives Disney the ability to try something very different without pissing fans off, which is, I guess, kind of a good idea seeing what's happened in the last 5 years or so since they've taken over. This kind of reminds me of Disney's other franchise, Marvel, which has all of those what-if videos. Either way, as usual, I'm really excited for new Star Wars content until Disney squeezes all those hopes and dreams from me. Well, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think about my theory about the Star Wars visions becoming a part of the Force visions that Qui Gon Jinn and the Jedi kept in the archives. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.